The human experience is a combination of a number of things. We have a physical body, we have organs that detect information, and our brain then interprets that information and creates our reality around us. And then we have like a mental capacity, we have consciousness. It's still a bit of a mystery as to where consciousness actually originates and how it exists within our body and if it can exist without a physical body. So when we look at the human experience, it's a combination of these things. We have the ability to feel emotions. We have the ability to have imagination and to wonder things and to ask questions. And all of these things combined create this human form. And then what we also have is energy. Ironically, those things are like treated separately in the society that we live. So we have hospitals for our physical health, and we have hospitals for our mental health. And then we have gyms that we can go to improve our physical strength. And then we have therapy options that we can go to improve our mental resilience. And it very much feels like we don't look at this bigger picture, that if something doesn't feel right within us, it's quite often a combination of a physical, mental and energetic thing, and yet we kind of treat them in isolation. Firmly my belief that those separations have been done on purpose, because it's almost like whilst you're only treating or focusing on a fragment, you're never really gonna then kind of flourish and thrive. You're just going to kind of get by and, you know, manage the symptoms rather than looking at that fuller picture. So since I've been more aware of this physical body, the mental body and the energetic body, and taken the time to like look at my spiritual hygiene, which we'll move on to in a sec, I definitely feel like my mental health has improved by doing those little rituals and things. So that's why I'm really passionate about sharing it. The energetic body. Now, this information, there's loads of it. So I'm only going to kind of go over it briefly, as it were. So the energetic body is made up of our aura, our chakras, our meridians. They are all different channels that are responsible for channeling energy around your physical body or around the energetic body that extends just outside of the physical body. It might be that you're naturally drawn to one area first. You might be naturally drawn to auras or chakras or meridians. So our aura, these are kind of concepts, they're theories, you know, but the common theory is that the aura is made up of layers. So the layer closest to our body carries certain information, and then the next layer and the next layer. So people that can read auras can tell how your emotions are, like your emotional health. They can tell what your mood is like. They can tell a little bit about your personality. And that's the thing, it can change. So you have like core colours for certain things, and then sort of colours might change as well. So if you've got like a nice clear colour, that suggests like really good energetic health. Sometimes your aura might feel or look heavy or like a dull or muddy kind of colour. You know, I'm already enough of a weirdo. Don't mean to be like going around telling people what colour they are as well. But nowadays, although I can't see the colours, I feel like I can kind of sense people's moods, and I can kind of sense colours around people that I can then use to interpret. So as a teacher, it's really super helpful being so in tune to people's energy, because when they come into the room, I can tell what they're worried about or what they're thinking, and then rather than me just address it, I just casually bring it up as though that was just naturally part of the conversation, and then I can see them relaxing as they're realising this woman gets me, you know, she's not going to force me to do something I'm uncomfortable with. Auras are fascinating stuff, but the idea is, with all of the energy portals, that right now our energies are interacting. We don't realise it, but they're gathering information, they're feeding into our subconscious, and when we're navigating the world and we're walking around, our aura picks up kind of debris, as it were, energetic debris from, you know, spaces and places. When I've been in this building and I've been around a lot of challenged youths and things like that, it's well worth a while remembering that you've picked up that energy then, and that energy has kind of become part of your energy. So that's where we get to the cleansing part. It's about how you can cleanse that energy away, and there's lots of ways to do it. The chakras, Does anybody know anything about chakras at all? Do they do yoga or meditation?
I think there's different colours in part of your...
That's it, yeah. So I've got a tattoo, the colours on the back of my arm. So the chakras are listed where they are. So they are energy portals that run along the spine. And they are swirling vortexes of energy. And again, if you, like, I imagine it like, you know, in a swimming pool when you've got a grate and you get leaves and things stuck in it and then you're cleaning out. That's how I kind of see the chakras. So they can be overworking, they can be underworking. So each chakra, you start with your base one and then they go all the way up right until you get to the crown, which is just here, and it's linked to like your intuition and your psychic ability and stuff. But each chakra can be clogged and not doing enough, or it can be the opposite. It can be overworking. So with your throat chakra, it's quite often with females, the throat chakra is blocked because from a little girl, we are told to be quiet, to not be too loud. I was naturally loud and hyper. It's like the expectations for a girl is different. So I spent many, many years shutting my voice down. And then the last few years I've spent trying to re-establish my connection with my voice. So you can see how getting to know the different energetic sources and the different energetic bodies that might be going on within us can actually lead to certain types of healing and emotional release and things like that. And the meridians are like channels all over your body. So I've only included just a brief explanation of what they are because I do not feel qualified enough to kind of like teach about meridians, as it were. But so if you do this with your middle finger, where it lands on the palm, if you then press there, it's a real nice like feeling of release. Meridians comes from traditional Chinese medicine. Yeah. Energy is contagious as well. I mean, how many times have you been around someone and for good or for bad, you come away and you're absolutely drained because they have like sucked all of the energy out of you? Or the opposite, you come away from someone feeling super recharged. Yeah. And it's like essentially the human body is a battery. You know, when you think like we are so separated from the earth, we have rubber soles on our feet so that we're not connecting with the earth anymore. I fully recommend getting out, touching trees, touching plants, getting your bare feet onto the ground. Again, if you have had a stressful day, you will feel the release of it almost like trickling away as you exchange energies with the earth. When I've had a bad day with the students, I'm in that graveyard talking to my favourite tree. And the kids know as well. They're like, "Miss, you hug trees, don't you? Don't you?" You know, like to show off to their mate, like, "See, told you, she hugs trees." But it's like, you know, these are the little tricks and tips. You start building these things into your everyday routine and you actually start to feel the difference. So spiritual hygiene then is things like meditation, journaling, creating. You know, as human beings, we are creative at heart, but quite often creation is then monetized. So you don't even feel like you can just have a good old draw and a doodle because it's like, well, I'm rubbish. I can't do anything with it. Singing, movement, dance, all of these things, they are all so good for your body. In fact, has anybody heard of fascia? So I'm going down a wormhole at the minute about this stuff and it's so fascinating. So just going back to the energetic body, the bioelectrical part of the energetic body is more the science kind of terms, but that's like your nervous system, your cellular energy. We're actually giving off like an electrical charge all of the time. But this stuff called fascia, I'm hoping I can interest you all in it as much as I've been interested in it. So basically, we know that the body's made of like 70% of water, and yet we don't pop like a water balloon. When we cut ourselves, you don't see any water coming out. So where is this water?
How do you spell that?
Fascia. So fascia is like the connective tissue that is wrapped around your muscles, your ligaments, and that's all it's ever been kind of credited as being, this like dumb connective tissue that doesn't really do anything more. But it's actually where the water is stored within your body. So it's like a gel-like substance that's over all of your muscles. It's all the way through your body. But that is how information is carried from your brain, you know, through your body. It uses this gel as the way to do it. And as you dehydrate or as you eat lots of like foods that are highly processed and things like that, the fascia itself becomes tight, it becomes rigid, it becomes less flexible. And that happens naturally as you get older as part of the aging process anyway. But when that fascia, so the fascia itself, when you play, I'm going to do the sound bowl in a bit, but when you do things like that, the fascia goes into different patterns, like crystal. It's got properties like a crystal, like a quartz crystal. So say if you hear music, your fascia reorganizes itself into the pattern of that music. Hence why if you hear sad music, it can make you cry. Or if you hear happy music, it can make you like, you know, it can change your mood around. Like music for me is such a hack. I sometimes cannot listen to music because I'm so sensitive to it. But I just found it fascinating that this fascia reorganizes itself depending on your emotions, depending on what it's hearing, depending on the vibrations that are coming through the earth. Now, that reorganization slows down if the fascia is dehydrated. So it's like if we don't look after it, it doesn't work as well. And there's certain techniques that kind of like reprogram the fascia, as it were. So say if you've spent a lot of your life being angry, that anger is stored by the fascia and it starts to become solid in certain places, and it can actually affect your posture because it's tightening up, and then that causes like the rounded shoulders because that's where you've kept all your stress and things like that. But I feel like it's such a nice crossover from an aura, which people could go, oh yeah, as if that exists, to a physical organ within the body that has these properties to be able to reorganize itself depending on what it's feeling, and that informs how you feel, if you see what I mean. So movement, for example, keeps that fascia, you know, when you're doing like yoga or breath work or ecstatic dance and things like that, that's why you can have those emotional releases, because the emotions were stored in your fascia. As females, you know, we store our emotions. It's like we have to hold our emotions in for the sake of the family, for the sake of the bigger picture. You know, quite often we've been taught that our whole lives, that their emotions are your responsibility. Well, they're not. You know, that's something we have to unlearn as we do get older. But in the meantime, women hold their emotions around their hips a lot. So even like in the morning when I'm waiting for my kettle to boil, I'm like this, and then I go the other way. And it like, you know, I'm thinking I'm keeping my fascia nice and unraveled, and also like honouring the womb. The womb is the energy centre, like an energy portal for females. At the end of the day, that's where life comes in to earth. So, you know, honouring that womb space, remembering it's like your magic bowl, it's where your intuition comes from.
I love that.
Honour my womb while I'm waiting for me tea every day. But yeah, so going back to spiritual hygiene, we're focusing on cleansing and different ways we can cleanse our area as well as ourselves. But in amongst that is also having boundaries. The sacred no, saying no, and no being a full sentence. Now, energy, negative, stagnant energy loves dusty corners. So I'm not about to tell you, oh, you've got to go home and clean your houses. But when you do clean, how much lighter do you feel? You know, if you clean out like a cluttered drawer or something like that, it physically resets my brain space as well as my physical space. So there's a reason. It's because objects hold energy. Everything has its own energetic signature. So if you're keeping hold of things that have got negativity attached to them, that could be like from a person that's left it behind. And even like people hoard. The trouble with hoarding is you keep hold of all this stuff, panicking, thinking, you know, I need it at a rainy day or whatever, but each of those items has like an energetic value that's then adding to your aura and bringing you down. So different ways to cleanse then. Does anybody cleanse? Yeah, wicked. Anybody have any like rituals around their cleansing?
Yeah, first of the month, cinnamon behind.
I was going to bring cinnamon over. Thank you for reminding me of that one. I've said herbs, but yeah, so cinnamon over the threshold into your house on the first of the month, or if you're like me and you follow the lunar phases, on the new moon, and that's meant to bring prosperity and abundance for that month.
Opening windows even in winter.
Yeah, so I have actually put wind on your sheet because
I'm like
yeah,
fresh air.
Yeah.
Brings joy.
Yes, it totally does. But you can wind cleanse yourself. You know, when it's windy, I sometimes will jump out into the wind and literally, I know we feel solid, but this is just all of its molecules. So energy does still pass through us, even though we feel like it doesn't. So when you're like stood in the wind is cleansing you. Selenite, my absolute favourite thing. This is just like, keep it in your pocket and you can just rub it. Like, it's like a nice stimming one. I'm so sensitive to selenite in the sense, the first time I bought it was a selenite bowl from you. I've still got that as well. But the minute I held it, it made me feel calm. So this selenite crystal does lend itself to cleansing yourself and your space. Just having it in your space is enough, because they're giving off their own vibration as well. Selenite self-cleansing as well. So with a lot of crystals, people say about cleansing the crystals. This one does the cleansing. Yeah, because it will cleanse your crystals. So I actually had a wand, like a selenite wand, which was like a long block. Can I find it when I need it? Because what I wanted to show you is that you can physically comb your aura using a crystal. So you literally start at the top and you run your crystal through, just literally through your aura like this. So as well as using a crystal, you can do it with your hands as well. So I remember the first time I did actually try this, and it's almost like, imagine that you're dragging through because you're trying to dislodge any energy that's got like stuck. But when I first did it, I was like, I can feel that. I don't know whether I'm just like placebo or what, but cleansing your aura, you can do it with your fingers, like as though you're brushing through it. I brought the little broom over just to remind me. So obviously with witches and the association with brooms, but this is because when you're sweeping that negative energy out of your house. So I tend to sweep almost every day, but I set that intention as well, that I am sweeping away anything that doesn't belong to me, that's not serving my highest purpose. I mean, I use an actual sweeping brush. I don't just use this. The bus is so dirty, like. But I also do leave this by the door to represent to me that this is the broom, like, that's pushing all that negative energy out. Smudge sticks. I actually make my own out of mugwort. So I harvest the mugwort around September time, dry it out, and then make the smudge sticks. Now, that is so much better for the environment, because actually, because of it becoming very popular in the mainstream, just like everything, you can't just take it by halves. Sage is almost like, white sage I think it is, has almost become kind of endangered. Do something that's local to you, like lavender, mugwort, you know, we can make things as well. But with a smudge stick, clean, open the windows, because you're going to sage, so you want everything to be able to get out. You light it, and sometimes it takes forever to light. So I light a candle sometimes and then just stand with it over the candle flame, because otherwise the lighter ends up burning your hand and all sorts.
Over a plate as well. I get really paranoid.
Yeah, because of the sparks like falling. So yeah, so sometimes when you buy a kit, they give you a shell, a feather, and a sage stick. The shell's for the ash, and then the feathers to like push the smoke into all the corners. So my ritual would be, I usually clean on a full moon, open all the windows, light my smudge stick, go all the way around into all the corners, like making sure that I get right into those corners where it's going to have got stuck. Now, when they actually scientifically tested this, it actually does do a bacterial cleanse of an area. So there is science behind these things. It's not just like because it looks nice, like it actually does bring the contamination levels of an environment down. Yeah, they have got like scientific backing. It doesn't smell very nice.
Because I just grabbed the first one that there was. Like, yeah. What's the difference between all the things that you burn then? What do they do different things?
So yeah, so you can just Google the properties, the magical properties of these herbs, and they do lend themselves to different things. So sage, mugwort, lavender, some of them will be cleansing, some will be protective. Rose is traditionally like a real high vibrational love. So again, I've got a selenite bowl over there, and I've just got some lavender and rose petals in there. And that for me is just like making my bringing nice vibes into my area. So definitely go with what you're drawn to. Like my grandma loved roses and I now love roses. So it's like I'm always drawn to the rose side of things. I'm like divine feminine and all of that. Thyme, that's a good one.
I use, is it Paolo? I've got a stick.
Palo Santo, yeah.
Which is probably like better if you don't want to burn things.
Yeah.
Wood, yeah, that's just sort of like a wood one.
So easily.
Yeah,
Obviously.
it can cleanse with an incense stick as well, but what I tend to do is use my smudge stick, so my sage or my mugwort first, then once I've done that and it's all out the windows, I then shut the windows, and then this is the part people forget, is to reset the energy. So sometimes you can cleanse and it'll feel really flat because you've got rid of everything. And then you get an incense stick like that and you do exactly the same but with the windows closed, and in your mind, instead of like I'm getting rid of all the bad energy, you're like I'm welcoming abundance, positivity, I'm resetting this space as mine, you know, my authentic self can be free here. Whatever it is you want to say whilst you're doing it, it's almost like praying, you know, you're just putting it out into the universe, what it is you want that thing to do. Pink Himalayan salt, there is some dissolved in this spray, but also you can just have a bowl of salt. It's meant to like soak up the negative energies, so then get rid of the salt into the ground once it's done that. I'm going to spray this in a sec. So this has got frankincense in it. You can put whatever. So this is moon water, salt, and then frankincense, but you can pick whatever smell you love. But so frankincense is a little bit more, rather than cleansing, it's more protective and bringing in the psychic and the intuition. It smells amazing. So I'm going to like pass that around so that you can smell it for yourself. But as I mentioned already, everything's already vibrating at its own signature wavelength. So the idea with sound cleansing is that you're bringing everything into alignment. So these sound bowls, like this one, is connected to the root chakra. It's red. It's got the 4-leaf in there, and it's specifically for the root chakra. So when you're doing this one, it's very much about grounding, stability, security, the things that we want. That's the idea with sound though, that it's infiltrating each of your cells at a cellular level and reprogramming. And that fascia that we spoke about, it's doing that. So tuning forks are really on the rise at the minute. I've got a couple of them over at the bus. So although we're talking about this in a cleansing sense, it can be good for reducing pain, reducing tension, all sorts.
Yeah, because it's not about the sounds, it's about the
vibration. Yeah, it can be a real mindful practice. You can lay somebody down and put it on their chakras and do it. I mean, you can hear the vibration like continue. Just carries on and on and on. Like I've got bells by my door on the bus as well, like witches' bells, so that that's why again, when you leave places, sometimes the bells ring. It's just cleansing the energy away from the space. Such a beautiful, like dainty noise. Yeah, really dainty one. I love it. Even the other, if you've not got any instruments whatsoever, clapping is such a good one for breaking up stagnant energy, especially like in the corners, like right in at that corner. Give it a good clap, and you're just moving things away. You know, that it's sound, it's energy, it's vibration. So that in itself is a good one as well. Final point about cleansing then is a goddess bath. Best thing in the world. I don't know. I mean, I've not got the option of a bath, so I don't know whether you've all got the option of a bath. But I went through a stage when I was doing the bus conversion where I was having a goddess bath every Sunday night. And I swear it's what kept me sane. It like kept me on a level. So with the goddess baths, it'd be water, pink Himalayan salt, because salt is such a good cleanser of the aura. I'd put some frankincense oil in there. I would sound bowl the room before I got in. I would pick out whichever crystals took my fancy and put the crystals around the edge of the bath so that whilst I was in there, and I would have an incense burning and I would play frequency music. But it was like the most gorgeous setting and just so refueling. You know, like what a lovely way to end the weekend / start the week. It just reset me because obviously you've got hot water as well. So if you're a bit of a sensory chick, like those goddess baths, hopefully then I've given you a bit of an understanding about the energetic body that we're not always aware of because we can't see it. And also it's not really acknowledged when it comes to mainstream. And also ways that you can start to kind of be aware of it and take care of it. Another cleanse actually is a visualization cleanse where you can visualize beautiful, shimmering, pearlescent light entering your body, And it's very much just intention based. It's visualizing that that is what is happening, and you're asking that light to take away all of the negative energy. Even better if you can stand bare feet on the ground. And then a final one can be, you can imagine in that doorway that there's a silvery, like that, but silvery light. And in your head, you're like, right, when I cross that threshold, I will be cleansed of any energy that's not mine, that's not serving my highest good, and I'll be recharged. And then you cross through the threshold. Thresholds are very magical anyway. I mean, how many times do you leave a room to get something and you forget what you left the room for? That's because you've crossed the threshold. So they are very good for like resetting your energy. Just as much as you can do the cleanse, the protect, you can visualize a protection as well. So sometimes I visualize a pink bubble or a golden bubble that's around me, and it's a shield and it can't be penetrated. You can't get me. And it makes me feel better. So.